Now that we have our low fidelity prototypes put together and we've stepped through some scenarios, what we want to do next is to actually formalize the design in more concrete terms. Let's take a look at the UML class diagram for this user story. So the first class that we're going to need to build is key. Right, and key doesn't actually have any fields that we care about here. So we'll just skip those. And it has one method, keyPressed. It's a public method. And keyPressed will take some type of event, right, that captures the notion of what key has been pressed. And what keyPressed is going to do, as we saw before, is it's going to call the level class. So let's get the level class up there next. So the level class is quite a bit larger, right? It has these two new private methods that capture this notion of Mario and enemies. So the first is obviously Mario, and Mario has type Mario. And we have enemies. And enemies is just an array of enemy. So those are the two main fields within level. And what key does is it goes and it calls level. Right? And that method that it calls within level is input. So let's add that next. Right? And what we're going to do is we're going to let key go and abstract away this notion of a keyboard event and change it into something that the game can actually use. So rather than just passing a key event, we'll just say that it passes a command. And the other method that's on level is, of course, update. All right, so level goes next, and it operates on the figure classes. So let's take a look at those next. All right, so because of these fields, Mario and enemies, we know that the level class is going to own these figures. Right, so we'll go and create a figure class here, a figure interface. And whether it's a class or interface isn't actually specified by our design so far. But when you get down to implementation, I'm almost certain that figure would end up being a class. Right, so we have the figure class. And this level class is going to go and use composition, right, to keep track of this relationship, because really level owns all of the figures, right? So there's only ever going to be one level, but there's going to be 0 to star figures, right? There's going to be lots of them. There will only ever be one Mario, but there will be lots of enemies, right? And off of this, of course, we then have Mario and enemy. And then on figure, before we forget, right, there were 3 public methods that we added here, right? We had move, we had hit, we had collide. And just like with the key class, we need to think about what is going to actually be taken here, right? What are the parameters going to be? And the parameter for figure, for move, has to be some notion of a direction, right? We need to know in what way is the figure going to move. So let's go and change this to take a parameter direction. When we think about hit, there's no parameter, right? So the figure is just taking a hit. But when 2 figures collide, they need to know who they're colliding with, right? So collide will take a parameter that is another figure. And this is the high-level design UML class diagram for this use case.